Hi, Adrian. Welcome to the show.
Hey, John. Appreciate you having me here today.
For sure. I see behind you there is a mobile home. We'll be talking about your book on how to buy a mobile home.
Yeah, this is my eye-catching photo behind me. It gets everyone's attention.
Excellent. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first and who you are, where you come from, and why you wrote this book?
So I am in Plant City, Florida. We are the winter strawberry capital of the world. So in between Tampa and Orlando, for anyone that's not local here. Uh, I started out as an evicted tenant. I tell my whole story through the book. Long story short, there is I got into investing in mobile homes. I was a real estate investor before the mobile home niche, but I really got into them because they cash flow much better. So I'm a cash flow investor. I like to buy the home and land. There's some other reasons I really like mobile homes. A lot of people don't like them. They have this bad stereotype of trailer trash and some other things. But I want to break that stereotype because they're not that true, those stereotypes. And I get to help people out that don't normally get to have help. And I found my success, started teaching a little bit. Not a lot of people would get on here right now and stand in front of this 1960s that comes with most of its citing. But I'm not scared to talk about these non-Facebook and Instagram items that help people out, make money. So then I end up writing a book and never thought I would do that. Well, I guess we could talk a little bit more about that. That's where I'm at today. It's been a fun journey.
Super. So I used to have a fifth wheel. It was a big one. Is that considered a mobile home as well?
There's a lot of confusion in that world. I try not to correct people when I'm marketing, but that is more on the RV side. Uh, Mobile homes were basically RVs a long time ago. Today, they're not mobile. It costs a lot of money, a lot of work to actually move them. So even though we call them mobile homes, they're not really mobile.
Right.
Manufactured homes, it kind of falls in that same umbrella.
Okay. Including, I guess, double wides then.
Yes, like a double wide, a single wide, like the one behind me. That's what I consider to be a mobile home. It does kind of go into that RV space. This one actually had the taillights still on it when I bought it.
Okay. All right. Well, I was thinking at one point to get a double wide. I had some property up in northern Ontario. A whole different type of weather patterns are there than Florida. I guess you don't have to deal with winter or winterizing the mobile home down there.
Exactly. We don't have to, but we got to deal with those hurricanes. But,
Yes.
there's mobile homes everywhere. They're in Alaska. Yes, you do have to insulate them a little bit better because these, especially the old ones, they don't withstand the weather really well. But people have found ways to be able to do that, weatherize them, like you're saying,
Yeah.
and it's possible.
Especially the water getting into the mobile home. You have to do certain things. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos on mobile homes in Alaska when we were trying to figure out whether we could use our fifth wheel, and it looked like too much work, so I didn't do it. But you mentioned
Yeah.
hurricanes. My understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, that the insurance for homes have gone up quite a bit in Florida. Does that affect you?
Oh, you were watching the market correctly. Yes, it has gone up quite a bit, and it's actually very hard to even find coverage on certain homes. Oh, like the one behind me, the 1960s, 1970s, there's no coverage for anything but liability right now. We can't get it. Uh, when you get to like the 1990s and newer, there is coverage, but as you said, the prices, the premiums have really gone up a lot. We just have to bake that into our numbers ahead of time. But the insurance world is a mess right now in Florida. And because the mobile homes are sometimes a little bit more risk, especially the insurance companies think so, they're even harder on us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, when you wrote this book, you weren't thinking of only Florida. You want to get this out to other states and maybe even other countries. So, what does it look like for you in selling this book for people who may be living in Texas or anywhere else, really?
I wrote the book in that mindset, like you said, for all over. And that's one reason I didn't put like direct numbers in it of how much I would pay for a property or pay for rehab, because that number changes all over the place. And it was a little more difficult to do that because people want to know real numbers. But we'll just say Florida, Texas to even California, you might have an extra 2 zeros over in California for the exact same thing. Well, I always tell people to take the information, it's the base information, and then you have to manipulate for your market, because there's also different laws. Let's say for the tying it down, like physically anchoring it to the ground, that changes not only every state, but sometimes every county within the state. So you can have many different laws all within one state. So trying to write that up, that was not my vision of the amount of work I wanted to do.
Okay. Well, one of the words in the title, how to buy one. What do you mean by how?
A lot of people don't understand them. So I actually start out with the mindset shift to get rid of a lot of the stereotypes, because you can't buy one if you think super negative on a mobile home. If you think they're all trailer trash, or you think they're all hurricane missiles, all these negative stigmas that come with it. So we get rid of that to shift your mindset to, hey, these are a profitable things. These are something that don't depreciate. People live in them. And then I just educate all about mobile homes, the different strategies I use to buy them, the actual structures, how you repair them, walking through it, what you need to look for. So like in 1980s, they used this polyurethane. I can never even say the word right. It's this plumbing that they used in the 80s, and it failed. Like to the point there was a class action lawsuit, and they mainly only used it in mobile homes. So if you haven't dealt with mobile homes, you don't realize, oh, this is actually a really bad plumbing. And there's still some out there. I go through all of those different things. I wrote the book on exactly what I do,
Okay.
and it's done well because I think I was very authentic in the book.
Now you say you were a real estate agent for other, regular homes. When did you switch over?
You know, I really never represented other people. I've always just wanted to do it for myself. I I've done a little bit of helping other people, but it's just not for me. It's not my personality. It's a totally different other skill set, and I've learned that those people are really good at what they do, and I'm better at going in and solving a problem that is not just, hey, I'll give you a lot of cash, or solving a problem like a mobile home. That there's other things about it. Uh, I switched though from the single family, what people just think of like the corner, concrete built, very strong structure. I switched from those to mobile homes about 7 years ago. So that would be what, about 2015 ish, 2016. And I switched because I got a little taste of the cash flow from a mobile home, and I make hundreds of percent better cash flow. And that's what I can spend every month. That's what
Mhm.
I buy food with. It's hard to buy food with equity because, yeah, you can refinance it, but that music stops. And it's
Yeah,
stopping right now, actually.
right. I'm a little older than you. I come from a different generation, and life was much easier for me to buy a house back in the 80s than it is for a young person to buy a house now. And it seems to be a big problem. Are you gearing this book or these thoughts, this idea of owning a mobile home to a younger generation that has no hope of ever buying a real house?
Great question. Yes, and a lot of people don't realize that we're in the affordable housing space. Now that goes in two different areas. If you're renting, the affordable housing spaces, the blue collar a lot of times, and that space is pretty crowded. But going on what you're saying of the buying, our interest rates have gone up. It's difficult for people to afford a house right now. So now maybe they wanted an acre of land and they wanted to live there, but they can't afford the house anymore. But they still want the acre of land. Now they're like, you know what? I didn't want a mobile home, but I'm not against it. I want that acre of land and that privacy more than I want to wait. And the mobile homes are in the workforce housing, the affordable housing space. So we've actually been appreciating a little bit better than houses recently because of that, because we've been undervalued. People have been overlooking the mobile home space, and people want to live with some privacy, some like I said, half acre, acre, 2 or 3 acres of land. And mobile homes are a great source of getting that privacy and that land. And the newer homes, they are built just like any house. We have some models out there, the newer homes that can withstand 165-mile-per-hour winds. Now, I don't particularly invest in those because I'm a cash flow investor. But if you're worried about, a hurricane coming and blowing over your house, 165-mile-per-hour wind, yes, there's stronger ones than that, but you should be evacuating anyways if it gets stronger than that.
Yeah. And of course, there are tornadoes. Those could be
Yes.
really wicked. You
Yeah,
don't,
tornadoes actually scare me more than a hurricane, but
yeah, I
that's
think
probably
so.
because I grew up with hurricanes.
Yeah.
You don't usually fear as much what we grow up with.
Hmm. In your book, do you give advice on where and how to purchase land and what to look for?
I don't go so much on the land. The book, although it is for all types of mobile homes, so I'll quickly break that down. What does that mean? You can own a mobile home and not the land. So just the unit, you pay someone lot rent every single month. You can own the mobile home park. Those have gotten pretty popular in the news and in the last few years. And then what I mainly like to do is an individual unit, one unit with the dirt. So I own the home and the land. It's a real estate transaction. The book works for everything, but it is more geared to the individual home and land. So it's not finding just the land, because you can also find the land, buy the home and have it moved there, installed and everything. I don't talk a ton about that. It's more buying the home already there, in place, what to look for. You got to know all of those parts, even if you're going to move a new one there or anything like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, again, when I had my fifth wheel, it was a real learning curve because I've lived in houses, and okay, it wasn't a mobile home, it was an RV, but there's all types of things I had to learn as I was going along. No one taught me. There was no, well, maybe there was a book I didn't know about. For instance, cleaning the roof of a mobile home must be similar to cleaning the roof of an RV. Is it rubberized, these mobile home roofs?
Great question. If you is an older one. So when I say older, I really mean like the 60s and 70s or even older than that. Yes, they're rubberized. It's like a TPO product, because similar to an RV, they're not strong enough to handle all the weight of shingles. Now, today's the newer ones, the 90s and newer, and the 80s are kind of a transition period. But the newer ones can have shingles on it. And we can also put a metal roof, like a metal roof over. But those older ones, it was very popular to have that because it's just barely curved, similar to an RV. Usually RV is a little more flatter, but it's a TPO. It's like a plastic. Think about when you are landing or taking off on an airplane and you look down at the Walmart and all those big box stores and you see that white shiny stuff. It's a similar product of that.
Okay, all right. The other problem I had was understanding how the water heater works, and I ended up burning out the element at one time, and I learned the hard way. I learned many things the hard way. So this book would help people who are new to mobile homes, and there's resources in there to teach them the little tricks that come with mobile homes as opposed to brick and mortar, right?
Exactly. So I've learned a lot of things the hard way as well. And that was one of the reasons to write the book, because as you're talking about with RVs, there wasn't anything out there whenever I started. So I said, I'll write a book to be able to let other people learn from my mistakes so then they have less hard lessons. And the water heater, that's a good one to point out. On an older one, 60s, 70s, it started changing in the 80s. You actually access the water heater from outside the home. There's another door
Yeah,
that is only for the water heater. And a
yeah,
lot of people don't realize that. They're looking all through the bathroom. Well, where's this water heater at?
yeah,
It's outside.
yeah. So how advanced are they now for, say, a bathroom? How, you say the modern ones, would I had a stand-up shower that I could barely fit in, but again, I had a RV, not a mobile home. What are the bathrooms like for the modern ones?
They can look just like any house. And if you go and rehab it, so one of my buddies, Mark, he loves to rehab mobile homes. If you were to look just inside of the photos, you wouldn't think it's a mobile home. Whatever the new standard trend is, they can put inside of mobile homes. They don't always do that on the standard models because there's still the affordable housing. And a lot of people don't want to spend the extra money on it. They're looking for a safe, livable place, not the super fancy. What the showers are about the same sizes, just like the houses in the 80s had a little bit smaller showers, not as small as you're talking about. But we can reconstruct and rebuild anything in a mobile home.
Cool. Do they still have wheels on it?
This one behind me actually still does today. Uh, it was popular when they moved them in to leave the wheels there a long time ago because they thought maybe they would move it again. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will take the wheels and axles off and the tongue because it was hauled in with a truck and sell it for scrap metal. I don't ever advise people to keep it unless you really think you're moving it within a few years, because if it sits for a long time, the mover is going to say, I don't trust those axles. They've been sitting too long.
Yeah.
We're putting new ones on it anyways.
Yeah.
So go ahead and sell it for some scrap metal. A lot of times the brand new ones, when they move it in, they take them off because
Yeah.
they're just going to reuse it. Why leave it on there to rot away?
Yeah. How are people responding to your book?
They have loved it. I wrote the book through the filter of education first and about teaching how to invest in mobile homes. And I did it a storyline from starting out as an evicted tenant through past my time of enabling my wife to retire at 29. And I would say slightly a mistake. It's also an inspirational book because it's my storyline. And throughout my story, I kind of teach about mobile homes. So people have said they loved it for the inspiration side that never planned to buy a mobile home. So that was just a side bonus. I wrote it authentically and people have loved it for that. And people don't understand mobile homes. So that's another reason that they have loved the book.
Mm-hmm. And how are sales for you?
Really good. I didn't limit my mindset with the book by researching what do self-published authors, how many do they sell? And when I hit 1,000 copies sold, I put a post on Facebook. I was really excited and everything. And someone replied with a comment. He's like, "You've sold more than most self-published books sell in their lifetime." And this is like 4 or 5 months in.
Wow.
I was confused, and so yeah, I think I'm around 2 or 3 thousand books now, and it's been great. I'm marketing all the time and
Mm-hmm.
telling people about it. I take pictures with it, and because I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I never thought I would write a book ever, because I was in remedial classes when I was growing up through all of school. And while I was writing the book, I found out I'm dyslexic. So I'm really proud of it. And because I keep telling people about it, I think people have been
Yeah.
buying it.
Well, most of the authors I interview here have written fiction or memoirs or something like that. This is a much more of a resource book.
Mhm. Yeah,
And per-
there
and per-
there are some chapters that are a little data heavy, on the repairs, how thick the walls are, and everything. But I try not to make it too dry.
right. I didn't notice. How many pages is it?
It's just under 140 pages.
Okay. That's pretty good.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess the price must reflect that as well.
Yeah, it's on Amazon for, how Amazon changes it all the time. It's around $15, $16
Sure.
on
Sure.
there.
Do you have like a bunch of your books that you have that when you're dealing with clients as an agent and say, hey, by the way, I've got this book. Is that one of the ways you sell it?
Yeah, I tell people about it, and anywhere I go, I'm always like holding it up. I take a picture at the airport and everything. And you always hear about when you're an author, people are excited and it brings like more opportunity. I just didn't understand about how much more opportunity really being an author and a best-selling author really would bring.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, it's a good business card. If you feel
Yes.
like it's the right person, that they're truly going to read it. I don't like to just give it to absolutely everyone. If I feel a person will actually read it, I love giving it out and helping people out. Especially, I'll teach at high school sometimes about money, and I'll generally like ask, "Will you read this book?" And if they say yes, I give all the kids books.
Hmm, excellent. What was writing a book like for you? It's a daunting thing to sit down and start writing a book. There's a blank page. Did you write a synopsis or some sort of guidepost before you started writing, or you just went to it?
So I did hire a coach, and I had already had coaches in different parts of my life. So I believed and understood in coaching. So I did hire a coach to help me through the process. And he said to do a mind map first. And I'd heard about mind maps, but I actually learned how to use a mind map when I wrote the book. So I did that first. And I found what worked for me was first thing in the morning. I am a morning person. So first thing in the morning was at 4 or 5 a.m. So I got up real early so no one could bother me, get some coffee, and just write. And I think one of the key pieces that they taught me is you're not allowed to edit anything, which is really difficult when that red squiggly line goes underneath it that you can't go back and correct it. And just writing, and I would just go and go until something stopped me. I would run out of steam, and then I would just do that again the next day and the next day.
Mhm.
And it just started flowing. Finding that for me, that was my time of day, my way to do it, no distractions. It did flow much easier. When I tried to do it in the afternoon, no, nothing came out.
I agree. I'm a morning person too. Did you spend money on the editing and the design of the book cover?
Yes, I did hire an editor. It's like a stay-at-home mom. It's like that's what she does for a living, but not a editing company, I'll say, a big company. And I learned a lot about editing. There's different styles of editing, and I did some friends to proofread editing. And if I were to go back in time, or actually here, when I write another book, I will spend more money on editing because I tried to edit a lot of it ahead of time, which was extremely difficult for me. And I really didn't save a lot of money. And she's really good at that. Or, most editors, I mean, that's what they do for a living.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I should just stick with what I do, get the information on the page and let someone else do it. And she interviewed me to, ask about the flow. Hey, I really want to move this over here. And I would do that again. I would do that quicker.
I see. I
The
see.
design of the cover, though, you asked about that.
Yeah.
That was actually my most difficult part. And I was dreading the writing part because, like I said, that was not my strength in school at all. The design of it was so difficult. And looking back, I figured out because he was asking me some questions about what I want it to look like. And I had a difficulty of getting that out in words. He would give me a design like, no, I just don't like it. We probably went through 30 or 40 of them, scrapped it completely, started completely over, and got to something. I'm like, all right, we're somewhere. Like I like the direction of this. And once he got to that, it moved pretty quick, but it was painful. I think partially also because you're at the end. Like you just want to be done by now. And the cover's so important because people judge a book by its cover and
Yeah.
they don't like what they see.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
needed to fit my personality. That was super important to me. Is it fit my personality? And I couldn't believe how difficult the cover was.
Hmm. Well, most authors I interview, including myself, not to say I've interviewed myself, that sounds weird, but we're artists primarily. And one of the complaints is that marketing is not our thing, and we have a hard time with that. Judging by what I see on the screen before me, you don't seem to have a problem with marketing. Being a real estate agent, you'd have to be good at that. Did that come into play in helping you get the book into people's hands?
Yes. And you're right. I am good at marketing. I truly enjoy marketing. I even teach it some. I think the biggest key to marketing and where I see people go wrong is you have to make marketing fit your personality. We all have something quirky and a little different that we love, and making that fit the personality, then it's not this daunting task that seems like no fun. Oh, as you're mentioning, I like a little attention. I have this bright colored shirt on. I enjoy being bright and happy. So that's how I have my marketing go. I've been in marketing professionally, like worked for companies, and then I've always marketed on my own. And I think that's been a lot of it is I am good at telling people well, I'm a megaphone, is what some of my friends call me. I'm a megaphone. I talk about what I do, not to an over annoying state, but I'm again, it goes back to I'm proud of my book. You know, that made it easier for me to tell everyone about it. If I had one of those early cover designs, I wouldn't have been proud of that. And I don't think I would have marketed the book very well.
Yeah. You mentioned briefly that you may write another book or you're thinking about it.
You know, I had the goal to write one book, partially because I never thought I would write a book, and when I was in school, I would think I would be like the last person they would think, and I like to do things people think I wouldn't be able to do. I said, all right, I'm going to write one book, and I enjoyed it. And now I have a blog because I learned how to write in an enjoyable manner. Not I have to write an essay for school. And I sometimes just open my computer in the morning and just write. And I just put it in a Word document and it stays on the computer. And every once in a while I pull it out like, oh, that was good stuff. So I think I will write another book. I don't know when, I don't know on what, but there's just a therapeutic thing about writing. I understand also that writing, if I were to pass away tomorrow, at least all my information's there in the book. And if you don't pass on whatever that information is, to me, it's kind of a sin. Like you stored it all up and you weren't abundant and gave it away. So I'll learn more between this book and whenever I write another one, and I'll want to get that out there and documented. So yeah, I'll write another book.
Sure. It's legacy of sort.
Yeah.
Well, writing, as you say, once you get that taste of it, it's hard to stop. You mentioned you have a vlog. What is that about?
Yeah. I have a blog on mobile home investing because that's what people really want more of, but it also has real estate investing. So then I go a little bit bigger. And I would say it's probably about a third of it. It's just mindset, because mindset's how I've gotten where I'm at today. I personally believe that business, no matter what type of business it is relatively easy if we have the right mindset. And it's really hard and won't work if we don't have the right mindset. So I love to write about mindset, and I will keep writing on that in my blog until my community tells me too much, Adrian. We want some more business in there. But I love it. And
Cool.
it's just whatever I feel like writing that day. I'm like, you know what? This is what my heart says I need to write on, and I write.
So where on besides Amazon is this book available?
I went to, I don't even remember the website that just basically pushes it out to all the companies.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much anywhere you can buy a book online. It's not in any stores. I don't know if that'll happen or not. Amazon's a big one. I do not do shipping from myself because that's work, and I did not want to get into that much work. So Amazon's a big place. I do have the Audible version,
Oh,
which
cool.
that was actually more difficult. That's the most difficult speaking engagement I ever had, and I think more difficult than writing it because I chose to do it in one day.
Oh, you did it
And
yourself?
I did it myself, and it was extremely difficult doing the audiobook. So that's out there everywhere that audiobooks are as well. I like taking the easier route. There's a site, that disperses it all, and I just take that and let them do the work. Amazon's good at marketing my book, so let them have it.
Sure. Yeah. I take it you have a website. You want to talk about that?
Yep, lifestyle-rei.com. That's where I have all my education. I have my audiobook on there as well because I can control it there. And that's where my blog is at. And I teach about mobile homes. I teach about landlording. I'm going to get into some more creative financing for business and real estate. That's where I put it all. And it's my passion business. I love it.
Cool. Any final words?
I appreciate you having me on here. And if you're thinking about writing a book, just get out there and start writing something. And I would say almost figure out the rest later. Get it on paper. And if nothing else, just so then your family can read it. It's a fun thing.
Yeah.
It's not as hard as it sounds.
I can see why you're successful. You have a very infectious personality. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Okay. Well, you take care of yourself. Thank you for watching. And before you go, if you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and don't forget to ring that bell for future notifications. You can even leave a comment. All of that really helps in recommending this channel to a larger audience. And if you are an author, I would love to speak with you about your book. Until next time, keep on writing and be kind to one another.